In this episode of Judge Judy, we don't just witness a simple money dispute. We see how a casual neighborly relationship slowly turns into a full-blown legal battle fueled by mistrust, contradictions, and missing proof. The case begins when the defendant moves into a new neighborhood and meets his neighbor, the plaintiff, a man who works as an independent mechanic. The mechanic operates from his own home, repairing cars in his yard rather than a formal garage. At first, their relationship is friendly and uneventful, simple greetings, small talk, and mutual familiarity that often forms between neighbors. Over time, the defendant begins experiencing serious mechanical problems with his truck. He admits that he already knew the vehicle had issues and had previously received an estimate from another repair shop totaling around $850. However, due to financial limitations, he did not proceed with those repairs. Seeing that his neighbor worked on cars, the defendant approached him about fixing the truck. According to both sides, the discussion started casually and was based entirely on a verbal agreement, no written contract, no receipts, and no documentation of any kind. The mechanic explains that they agreed on two main repairs, work on the exhaust manifolds and repairs to the front end of the vehicle, including the hub assemblies. He states that the pricing was clearly discussed and that this was not a favor or a gift, but paid mechanical work. As the repairs began, the situation quickly became more complicated. Once the truck was taken apart, additional damage was discovered, damage that could not be seen beforehand. The mechanic testified that this is common in automotive repair, where hidden problems only become visible after disassembly. At this point, the truck was fully dismantled in the mechanic's yard. According to him, the defendant did not have the money to purchase the required replacement parts. Wanting to finish the job and avoid leaving the vehicle unusable, the mechanic agreed to buy the parts himself, with the understanding that he would be reimbursed. Those parts, however, ended up costing over $1,200, far more than the defendant expected. After the work was completed, the mechanic says he was never paid. Not for the labor, not for the parts, nothing. The defendant tells a very different story. He claims that he paid the mechanic in cash through weekly installments, but admits that there are no receipts or proof of payment because everything was done informally. He also argues that the mechanic had originally offered to do the work as a neighborly gesture. This is where Judge Judy begins to focus intensely on credibility. She points out a major contradiction. In the defendant's sworn written statement, he claimed the mechanic refused payment and repaired the truck for free. But in court, he insisted that he had been paying the mechanic regularly. Judge Judy makes it clear that both statements cannot be true. The defendant attempts to support his claim by presenting police reports related to later disputes between the two men. However, Judge Judy quickly determines that these reports do not prove payment. They simply show that tensions escalated after the disagreement over money began. Reading through the reports, the judge concludes that the hostility between the neighbors was not the cause of the dispute, but the result of it. Judge Judy then turns back to the core issue, proof. The mechanic provided a clear explanation of the work performed and the money spent on parts. The defendant, on the other hand, could offer only his word, and his story kept changing. With no evidence of payment and conflicting testimony from the defendant, Judge Judy finds his version of events unreliable. In her final ruling, Judge Judy sides with the mechanic. She determines that the repairs were not a gift, that the mechanic incurred real expenses, and that the defendant failed to prove he had paid anything at all. The judgment serves as a strong reminder of a lesson Judge Judy often repeats. Verbal agreements and trust mean very little without documentation. When money changes hands, or is supposed to, proof matters. The case ends not just with a verdict, but with a warning to anyone watching. Never mix business with neighborly favors without clear terms, and never rely on verbal agreements when real money is involved.